Reverence by Woom. This is a very fun, fast-paced, sync-based extreme demon. Especially if you are on a high refresh rate. This level is honestly very easy, comparable to levels like Aku or Red World. So my goal here today is to kind of walk you through the parts that stuck out to me as being harder than the rest, things to really focus on as you're playing the level, that hopefully will save you a lot of time in your experience if you're going for this as your first, or second or third extreme. So without further ado, just gonna hop right into it. I'll be playing with speed hacks so I can better explain the parts as I go. At the end of this, I'll put my full speed recording. This part is very setup and alignment dependent, and if you're not doing it consistently the same way every time, it's gonna be very difficult. While the easiest thing to do is just click along to the sync, there's some specific clicks I like to focus on as I go through that part. Those being jumping late out of this portal for one. So I'll jump late here. This yellow orb right here after the wave is a bit tricky, because if you hit it too early you'll die, but if you hit it too late, you set yourself up bad for this click right here. What I mean by that is, I get pretty low into this UFO portal, which gets me low into this click, and when I'm low into this click, it's very easy to die to that spike, and in general just set myself up bad for the next part. If you are consistently clicking late into this yellow orb, make sure to click very late into this yellow orb. The only other notable clicks in this part are this yellow orb, and this yellow orb is one that you need to click a lot earlier than you think. At first, when you're playing it, it seems like it needs to be a late timing, but this will very often set you up bad to not really jump off this platform and just die into this spike, or even miss this portal entirely. The clicks following it are pretty easy, except for this black orb. But in general, I found you're less likely to die to clicking it early than you are late. I died probably half my attempts with that black orb, just getting to the drop. This drop seems very intimidating at first, especially this little wave part here, but it's really not that bad. This entire ship and cube portal are just one hold click. I just buffered going into the ship portal, which also meant when I hit the cube portal, it hit this green one perfectly. Set me up for this next part. When you look at this wave section, it looks like this is going to be the gap that would actually kill you, but the first click is the only actual hard one. By just really focusing on this first click, you're kind of going to naturally release at the right time with the speed you're clicking at. That UFO part's free. This cube part is very easy. These are all buffers or just held through. This ship requires just a little bit of a delay into a hold. Clicking at either one of these dots works, but if you can just visualize clicking on this second dot, it's going to make you pass it every time, and then you can just hold straight into this UFO. Just making sure not to micro click that hard is really important, because you notice you can actually slide on that platform, so you have a lot of room on the second click. The only really important thing is to instantly buffer the moment you enter the ball, because there's not really a lot of time here to wait around. Make sure to not buffer that blue orb. I did that even when I was playing it. You can hit this a lot later than you think and still be okay, as when you buffer into this next thing, it's going to reset you with the portal either way. This part is so ridiculously easy that I think it's one of the reasons I don't consider this a hard extreme. This entire section is literally all buffers, or just kind of easy timings. I mean, look at how wide this wave actually is. This part is very forgiving, especially if you're on a high refresh rate. It shouldn't really cause you trouble. The wave can seem intimidating at first just because of how quick these clicks are, but when you actually look at this gap here, I mean, that is a lot of room for. This upcoming part is honestly the only reason why this level is an extreme demon. The most important thing is to click that blue portal right there late. And while you'll pass this part if you click it somewhat in the middle of it, what this does is it allows you to buffer this first ball click. If you go too early into that UFO portal, you're going to die to the spike up here before you can hit the blue orb. So that was completely game changing. Now these two wave gaps here were the cause of most of my deaths and trouble with the level, especially the second one. That was probably the majority of my deaths once I got to the drop. I think if I got to the drop, it was pretty much, do I pass this part? Do I pass the part at 50? And then after that, you're kind of guaranteed to beat it. but I'll go through each one. Um, this wave is actually very similar to the first one. The release timings aren't something you should even really be thinking about. You'll probably naturally just hit them, as long as you focus on clicking late into the portal and timing it along with the song. Following this wave part is a bit of an odd section. The main reason this part is annoying is because all the platforms kind of move in ways that aren't really predictable or cohesive, even when you know what you're meant to do. So coming out of this ship into this cube portal, while it's technically a buffer, this click is really annoying to hit, especially at full speed. And then you go into this wave where the gap is pretty hard to judge at full speed. You see how everything moves. And as it moves, it can kill you on the way down. Especially on this last click, you'll find those spikes or this wall itself can actually kill you. I'll go in full speed in a second. But what I do for this part is I just look at my own wave. And it's just this 5-click pattern where after these first 2 clicks, it kind of goes down with time. It goes just kind of same height and then down, down, down. Like my wave gets a bit lower each time up until I can look at the cube portal and see where I need to actually go up, because the cube portal doesn't move. In full speed, it's probably easier to see why it's a bit chaotic. It's pretty hard at 4 times speed to kind of see where you're meant to go. And that's, in my opinion, my least favorite gap in the entire level. That's definitely what killed me the most. But once you pass it, you're kind of likely to beat the level if you've practiced correctly. Coming to this ship, similar to the previous ship, you can't buffer hold into it necessarily, but you kind of just gotta correct yourself. This ball part's pretty free, you just buffer these. This UFO click, in practice, is kind of hard to die to, but I found I actually died there a few times in the level because clicking too early can kill you. And you especially want to make sure that you hit this yellow portal as soon as you can, because I very often would kind of just lazily click there and die to that spike. This part doesn't really seem like it would be a timing, but if you try to time the hold to let go here and click the green orb, it's something that might kill you. Because you can see here, if I'm holding and I don't hold all the way to the cube, I can actually die right there to that spike, which is kind of annoying. It's a pretty quick gap from here to here in full speed. But something I didn't realize until very late into the level, surprisingly, is that you can just keep holding and buffer the green. I don't know if anyone else actually struggled on this. That's a nice little thing to get rid of a potential death. And then this wave part. This wave part is very scary at first because the intro gap here is pretty tight. This is one of the technically tighter gaps in the level for a 4-speed wave. Just this first click and making sure you're doing it right. Luckily the mini wave right after it isn't actually that bad. But if you look at my click pattern here, the clicks are like perfectly spaced apart. It's a very even rhythm. While it's something I died to a lot in practice, it never killed me in the actual level. Just making sure to time your clicks very evenly. I mean, that's the best advice I can really give on almost all the wave parts, is to just kind of time them and click along with the rhythm, which is kind of like, you don't need me to tell you that, but I think just thinking about it is the best way to get through those parts. And once you pass that wave, you are exactly at the 50% transition. The good news is that the level gets easier, and the even better news is that it has an end screen, meaning you're technically already way over halfway through. So if we go to this part, this is one of the easier parts in the level. You just buffer these. That's a bit of a memory part, but you really just click the blue pads, and they are kind of technically tight timings, but in practice, they're not going to kill you often. This is a surprisingly difficult little section where you see there, I clicked pretty early after that cube, and I buffered there, and I still died. Now, these timings are very annoying for a reason that I don't think was intended. You'll see here that you can actually die by crashing into this block. And I found I died way more often than I expected to. So what I found is trying to click as early in this robot part as I can to allow myself to get the full robot jump is something that basically saved me from dying, as well as trying to click this blue orb as soon as I could. But there's small little things like that that if you don't know or don't practice or don't think about, you're just gonna have these really annoying deaths from zero and probably just not have a fun time with the level overall. This wave right here is honestly completely free as long as you make sure to just micro click at the start of it, and you can hold out of it to automatically hit this black orb into the spider, which it itself has almost no. Oh. Now, this upcoming wave part after these two late timings is technically the hardest wave just based off the gaps that you have to hit there. Especially this yellow orb right there, because that's about as thick as most gaps in this wave are, but you have a time in the middle to set you up. Personally, I didn't struggle with it just because I'm kind of used to that click, but I can imagine if you're going for this as one of your first extremes, this can be very annoying. And while it's not what you want to hear, I'd say just practicing this part a ton is going to be your absolute best bet. It really gets consistent over time, and it's pretty satisfying to pull off. But setting yourself up for the click and hitting the click can be a bit troublesome. After that wave, there's only one more part that I think is even reasonable to die to before the end of the level. This ship part is pretty free. You can do it in just one click if you time it right out of the transition. It's also easier at full speed. These are all buffers. This pink orb here is a bit of a timing if you actually look at the gap you have to pass as a ball. It's just something that if you're clicking along to the rhythm, you're really not going to die to. Now the part following is something I think is worth more of a note. So making sure I hit it late is important, and then on top of that, making sure I hit that black orb late. It looks like I can hit it anywhere, but if I click it too early, I set myself up weird for a gap, and while I didn't die there, you definitely can die if you click too early into that black orb I found. The cool thing about this part is that it has these light shafts that come from the roof, and if you just like align where you are with the light shafts and just click centered on them, you're gonna pass it with ease. This orb is not a timing, but make sure not to click it too early, because there's a lot of ways you can die to this part, such as clicking right there and basically just doing a head hitter as the UFO and dying. There's a few different ways you can die to that on accident that are not fun. And here's the final hard section of the level. The moment you pass this click right here, you basically beat the level. There's nothing after that that's going to be difficult. But to go through this part, we have a bit of a rhythm, pretty wide gap, but then this gap right here is the single tightest wave gap in the entire level. You only have a few frames to actually make this click. Looks like about 6 frames. This is probably like a 20 FPS, maybe 30 FPS frame perfect. It's not a really unreasonable timing to hit, but from zero with nerves, it can definitely be annoying. I'm pretty sure I died here once from zero, and this was my best before I beat it. I'd argue that this click is also one of the only reasons it's still an extreme demon. And then exiting this part, pretty much all of these clicks here are buffers. The only other thing for the entire rest of the level, there's a way you can die with a weird bug going into this spider part. I don't even know how this works. So just by making sure you hit it even a frame into the portal, or just as you're hitting the portal and not holding into it, is gonna guarantee you pass every time. And once you make it to this part, I mean, you basically beat the level. These are the widest timings in history. That black orb, it's not that bad. It's technically the only thing I'd consider a timing out of this level, just based off that you kind of have to go through it. You can't click it like way too late or too early. I think I died there in a practice like twice in like 100 attempts, but I wouldn't really worry about it. That's the only other thing that's maybe a timing this level, and then this entire part is just completely free. I mean, such a wide gap. That ship art really can't kill you. I just do like a little like 1-2 through it. You can even beat it in just one though. And then after that, you're done with the level. The end screen is at 86, and you're right here. Honestly, it's a really fun and enjoyable level to practice and make your way through. I had a really good time with it. It didn't take me that long. I think it took me like 2 days on computer to practice and learn, and then on the third day I beat it. And that was the first day I'd actually gone from 0 on the level trying to beat it. So overall, I think I gave this level an 8 out of 10. just because I feel like some of the parts aren't balanced. I showed you, like, there's that one wave click at the end, and then there's that one sequence of 5 clicks in the middle of the level. I don't think I've mentioned it actually, but this is my first extreme I beat on computer after swapping from mobile, where my hardest was idols. Waves so much easier on computer. So if you're on mobile, I wouldn't really recommend going for this level, but if you're on computer, this is honestly one of the easiest extremes you can go for, and because it's considered technically 300 spots above Aku for some reason, it might be a more impressive level to tell people is your hardest if that's your goal with going for a hardest. But I think it's a really fun challenge, and if you're any somewhat decent at wave, you're gonna just blast through it. I'd absolutely recommend this to anyone going for a first or especially like second or third extreme. Really fun level overall, even despite the bugs, the little like clicks I said that kind of get buggy or aren't what you'd expect sometimes. That's it from me. I hope you have a fun time with this level. I hope these tips actually mattered in any significant amount, make your experience in this level just a little bit better, and you won't have to sit there trying to figure out these little bugs and like gimmicks with the parts like I did. Dude, I'm playing like 10 minutes today. That's crazy. The level is pretty fun overall. My fucking hand hurts though. It gets really tiring. That part at 40, bro.